We want to bring in our panel now. Joining us tonight are Democrat Ed Espinoza, Executive Director of Progress Texas, and Republican strategist Matt Mackowiak, who's also chair of the Travis County GOP. Good to see you both.
Good to be here.
Good to be here.
I know that we often don't talk about the Midwest. We like to talk about Texas. But with the series that we've been running all week, I just want to, we've got two Texas candidates running on the Democratic side. What do Democrats need to do in order to win back the Midwest?
I think that particularly with the two candidates that we have from Texas, Castro and O'Rourke, both have a very authentic delivery. Voters have really connected with both of these candidates over the years because of their authenticity. They're very approachable. And I think that that's a very Midwestern quality to start with. But other than that, I think a lot of the issues that people care about in the Midwest, particularly health care, are ones that both of these candidates have talked about quite a bit. Pair that with the civility that they're both known for. Look, Beto is known for a guy that's very likable. He gets along with a lot of people. There are a lot of Republicans that like Beto O'Rourke. And Castro, similar, the same. I think those are a nice contrast to what we're currently seeing in the White House. Those are the kind of qualities that I think can help make someone approachable in the Midwest. Maybe not moderate in policies, but moderate in tone, I think goes a long way.
Matt, do you think Trump at the present moment is doing enough to win again there in the Midwest?
It's a good question, and I think part of it is, do we trust the accuracy of the polling that we're seeing right now in the battleground states? It looks like Trump's behind. Yeah. I don't put a whole lot of credence in that at this point. The political environment's very different. A year from now, we'll know who the Democratic nominee is. Obviously, I believe that this 2020 presidential race is going to come down to Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. I think, look, if the Democrats flip two of those three states, Trump has no path of 270 electoral votes unless he adds a state. That's why they're talking about things like Minnesota, Colorado, New Hampshire, New Mexico, states like that. So I think the question is going to be, I agree, I think Democrats have an advantage on the issue of health care. I think Republicans have an advantage on the issue of bringing manufacturing back. Trump's brought over 500,000 manufacturing jobs back in the first 2.5 years. It's significant because those communities in the Midwest, particularly in those three states, have been told manufacturing is gone, it's not coming back, you have to go get retrained and do something different. Trump's shown no through some actions he's taken, some of which I probably wouldn't have taken had I been president. He's been able to bring manufacturing back. Let's hope that's sustainable because that's good for the American economy.
Ed, I'll let you respond to that.
But is it enough? Because maybe some jobs have come back, but his poll numbers are still behind. So I agree with Matt. It's very early to poll at this point. 18 months in politics is an eternity. But if the manufacturing has come back and people are doing well, then why aren't his poll numbers higher today? It's a good question to ask, and it's one that he's going to have to consider over the next 18 months.
Well, let's talk about some polling out from the University of Texas, Texas Tribune this week that showed that there was Texas voters were split 50-50 on whether to re-elect President Donald Trump. Do you think that this really shows that Texas is a swing state? Again, maybe you're not looking into these too much yet because it is early, but with where Trump stands right now, surprised to see that.
Yeah, I don't think Texas is 50-50 on Trump. The Texas Tribune poll is a kind of a screwy poll. It's an internet poll. They take a panel of people that opt in. They survey those people, then they weight the data. That's not how polling's done. Polling's done, you take registered voters, you come up with a sample, you poll the sample, and hopefully that represents what you think turnout's going to be. So, and of course it's not on the phone, not on the internet. So let me just back up by saying I'm not a huge fan of the methodology the Texas Tribune uses. That said, Texas is going to be more competitive in 2020 than it's been in a presidential election probably in 20 years. Whether that means it's ultimately going to be competitive at the top of the ticket, I think is a huge question. I still think we're in a 6, 7, 8% margin probably for Trump, most likely. I don't think the Democrats are going to invest tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars that would be required here. Depends a lot on who their nominee is going to be. And we don't know that yet. We won't know that for some time. But no, I don't think it's a 50-50 state. I think the action is in the 6 to 8 congressional seats, the 1 state Senate seat, and the 20 to 30 state House seats that are going to be on the ballot. They're going to be very competitive.
Trump beat Clinton in 2016 by 9 points. It was a smaller margin than we've seen in a long time, but still 9 points. How close do you think this could be in Texas?
So Matt may not agree with the Texas Tribune poll that came out, and that's fine, but it's the second poll that has shown him struggling in Texas. The Quinnipiac poll a week before showed the same thing. So, once is a coincidence, twice is once is an anomaly, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a trend. We don't know what his internal polling says in Texas, but we know his internal polling for other states wasn't very good. Look, the trend line in Texas, if you go back to 2012, was a loss by 12 points. 2016 was a loss by 9. And 2018 was a loss by 3. The trend line is going in one direction, and it's in favor of the Democrats. 2018 was not an anomaly. It was the next set in a trend line of closing the gap. So I think that 2020 is going to be a good year for Texas Democrats. Texas is the definition of a battleground state right now. It is not a lock. Republicans in the legislative session were running scared, and we're only 9 seats away from flipping the legislature. Who knows what's going to happen statewide?
I got to say one thing. I think the 2020 election, it's going to be interesting to see whether the electorate looks more like the presidential turnout of 2016 or whether it looks more like the midterm turnout of 2018. Betting on presidential election year turnout to look like midterm election turnout is a really risky business. I'll just say one thing on the Quinnipiac poll. It did have Biden up 4 points. It was a Dem plus 4 sample, Democrat plus 4 sample. That is not what I think the turnout's likely to be in a presidential cycle. And that was similar to the 2018 turnout in Texas. And so that's the big question. You're going to have some variations in some of the polling. Some people think 2020 is going to look like 2018. Others think it's going to look like 2016. My guess is it's going to be somewhere in the middle.
Presidential year is usually better for Democrats. So we'll see.
We'll see about that. Okay, real quickly, we started this conversation last night, but just with the Miami debate next week, the first Democratic presidential primary debate going on, what are you wanting? What are you wanting to see from these candidates? What are you expecting?
I want to see how you possibly do a debate with 20 candidates on the stage. I know it's 2 different debates, 10 a night. But in NCAA brackets, American Gladiators, I don't know how you make it work. This is now not going to be a debate. It's going to be a competition for sound bites. It's not a good situation. I don't envy the DNC for the position that they're in. Look, we're not really going to get a feel for what these candidates can do until we get to the fall and the field winnows a bit. There are a lot of candidates, look, I'll just say it, there are a lot of candidates who should not be in this race right now, and they're making it harder on all the other candidates that are in this race.
Real quickly, from the Republican standpoint, I mean, Republicans were kind of in this in 2016, not as many candidates, but still, what are you going to be watching for?
Yeah, and you got 2 nights, Wednesday and Thursday. On Thursday night, Republicans in Austin will be rallying at our Reagan Gala that the Travis County GOP is hosting, so we hope people have a chance to come to that. But you have 2 nights, 10 candidates in each debate, hour and a half. You're going to have 6-7 minutes per candidate. You look, the top, as I think Harold said last time on this air, you have top 5 candidates. 4 of them are on Thursday night's debate. 1 of them is by herself, Elizabeth Warren, on Wednesday night's debate. Does someone break into that top 5? Does someone have a moment that lives on, that changes the narrative, the whole direction of this campaign? What happens when Biden is challenged, which I think he will be, by Bernie Sanders or someone else? These are the kinds of things that are going to matter, but I don't know that this first debate is going to matter that much. They can't have 20 candidates going forward. They're going to have to narrow down.
On a serious note, inevitably, here's what will happen. With all the candidates on the stage, there will be a moment between 2 or 3 of them, and it will probably get more airtime than it should. And that's what these debates will come down to. Yeah. We saw it in 2016. It's going to happen in 2020. And again, until the field narrows, we're not going to get real debates here.
We will have so much to watch and talk about next week.
It'll be fun, that's for sure.
It will be fun.